Text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry and this is Dewbs & Co.
We may be a little bit down, but our country is not out.
Oh yes, indeed. A bit of optimism at the Tory party conference today as Robert Jenrick's time to speak, but also some serious policy too.
It's like finding out halfway through a football match that the ref is actually a season ticket holder for the other side.
He pledges to get rid of what he calls activist judges, so the likes of the people that support open borders. Is that the right move or not? Also today, of course, the anniversary of the 7th of October attacks. Our Prime Minister begs people not to protest or celebrate. It won't surprise you a jot to learn they didn't listen. And get this, a poll shows that 3 in 4 people think that they are going to be financially worse off after next month's budget. Personally, I cannot help but wonder, what's the other 1 in 4 thinking? And speaking of Robert Jenrick, there's calls now for him to be stripped of the whip after he described a recent visit to Birmingham and said that he hadn't seen another white face for the whole trip. Can I just say, grow up? Facts are not racist. I've got a great panel for you tonight as well. The Tory peer Lord Moylan and the former Labour Party chair Baroness Diane Hayter. But before we get stuck in, here's your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Michelle, thank you. The top stories. It's 2 years to the day since Hamas militants stormed into southern Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking 251 hostages. Israelis are gathering across the country to mark the anniversary. At the site of the Nova Festival massacre, flowers, candles and tributes now line the memorial. Families of those still missing say they'll keep fighting until every hostage is returned. Meanwhile, Israel's military campaign in Gaza continues. More than 67,000 have been killed, with most homes damaged or destroyed. Indirect peace talks between Israel and Hamas have resumed in Egypt as hopes rise for a breakthrough in the Gaza war. Egypt's foreign minister says the talks are centred on creating a security plan for Israel's full withdrawal from Gaza. Negotiators are also seeking to guarantee unrestricted UN aid access to the territory. Cairo says the ultimate goal is to unite the West Bank and Gaza and move closer to a lasting two-state solution. Pro-Palestine protesters, university students from King's College, UCL, LSE and Roehampton are walking out of classes today in London as they demonstrate on the second anniversary of the October 7th attacks. It comes after the Prime Minister branded the planned protest un-British and urged students to show some humanity. Writing in The Times, he added the UK remains committed to peace with a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state. Elsewhere today, Robert Jenrick has caused a stir at the Tory party conference, arriving on stage with a black box and revealing what was inside, a judge's wig. The Shadow Justice Secretary used the prop to call for a crackdown on what he calls activist judges, saying those linked to Open Borders charities are like referees who support the opposition. The Shadow Justice Secretary also launched a blistering attack on Sir Keir Starmer.
We all knew that Keir Starmer would be a bad Prime Minister. But I don't think anyone anticipated he would be this bad. A freebie grabbing, free speech stifling, criminal releasing, tax raising, farmer hating, Brexit betraying, aspiration sapping, sorry excuse for a leader.
Meanwhile, Jenrick says he won't shy away from his comments about not seeing another white face during a visit to Birmingham's Handsworth area. He insists his remarks were about integration, not race, linking poor integration to last week's terror attack in Manchester. Kemi Badenoch defended him, saying there's nothing wrong with making observations, but Labour calls his comments a red line. Former Tory Mayor Andy Street said Jenrick was wrong about Handsworth, which he described as a very integrated place. It comes after The Guardian published a leaked recording of Jenrick's remarks from a Conservative dinner in March. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch sat down with our political editor Christopher Hope. Badenoch warns that high immigration levels damage communities.
Small boats were not caused by Tory policies. They're small boats in France. They're in Italy. There is a problem with global mass migration. We tried lots of things to fix it. They didn't work. People saw that we ended up, the courts, stopping us from doing that. That's why we're leaving the ECHR, because we're tired of people using the courts to frustrate the democratic will. But you will remember that before small votes, it was Channel migrants coming through the tunnel. We fixed that. We stopped that, so we can do it again.
US President Donald Trump is hosting Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at the White House. Carney is aiming to get trade talks back on track after months of negotiations. Canada is the only G7 country yet to reach a trade deal with the US this year. In August, Trump increased tariffs on Canadian goods to 35%. Many are exempt under the current free trade deal. Canada then retaliated with its own tariffs on US exports. Ahead of the meeting, Carney said he and Trump take a different view on trade deficits, but called the US leader very sharp. And millions of victims of car finance mis-selling could receive less compensation than previously estimated under plans from the regulator. The Financial Conduct Authority said payouts could result from 14 million motor finance agreements between April 2007 and November last year. The regulator previously suggested motorists could receive less than £950 per deal, but it now says the average will be about £700. Lenders could pay out £8.2 billion in compensation. The payouts are over commission arrangements between lenders and dealers, unfair contractors and inaccurate information given to car buyers. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in an hour. Now it's back to Michelle.
Thank you very much for that. And hello and good evening to each and every single one of you. My name's Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co, keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've got my panel, the Conservative peer, Lord Moylan, and alongside him, I've got the former Labour Party Chair, Baroness Hayter. Good evening to both of you. You're very welcome tonight. As are each and every single one of you at home. What's on your mind today, ladies and gents? Join the conversation in all the usual ways. You can email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website, gbnews.com/your say. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. I've got to tell you, I'm in quite a giddy mood today. I've had quite a laugh. I am not normally a political party kind of person, but some of these speeches today, in the nicest possible way, they have actually made me laugh and they've cheered me up. Before I get stuck into the finer detail, let's just take a little look at a spot of dancing and singing that took place last night, shall we? Sweet Caroline. So good. Howard, is that what you do when you go to Tory party conference?
Well, I haven't gone this year because it's a bit raucous.
No, but in life generally, is that what you get up to?
But no, I don't do that. No.
Why?
I'm a quiet person on the whole, Michelle.
Do you behave like that?
Oh, outrageously. I think we'll have to go to the Tory conference in future now and do some dad's dancing up there.
This is why I
I don't do it in public anymore. You know, dad's dancing is a bit like mum's dancing. It doesn't go down terribly well with the youngsters.
Oh, I think it's
You know, they don't move like we used to.
Oh, I think it's absolutely great. That's why I could never be a politician, though, because the airways would just be packed full of me actually thinking I can sing every time I clap eyes on a karaoke machine, and obviously I cannot. But did you see the speeches today? Of course, we had Robert Jenrick. We've also had Chris Philp. And I'm not joking, by the way. I actually genuinely, particularly with Robert Jenrick today, it really made me laugh. Let's listen, though. This bit's not funny. This bit's quite serious. So let's listen to some of the things that he had to say today.
Today, I've uncovered dozens of judges with links to Open Borders charities who take to social media to broadcast their Open Borders views, who spent their whole careers fighting to keep illegal migrants in this country. It's like finding out halfway through a football match that the ref is actually a season ticket holder for the other side.
So he's talking very tough there. He's going to get rid of these, what he calls activist judges. He's going to do sentencing overhauls when it comes to things like the Sentencing Council and so on. Are you supportive of some of the things he announced today?
Yeah, well, there are two different things, aren't they? The Sentencing Council, I've always thought there's a role for the Sentencing Council, but it should be an advisory body. What happened under the Blair years is too much of the decision-making in this country was farmed out to quangos and so-called independent bodies. Independent simply means unaccountable. They don't answer to anybody. And so we get the mess that people don't have public confidence in sentencing anymore. The decisions should be made by politicians. Now, it's interesting that the current Home Secretary, when she was Justice Secretary but she was till a few weeks ago, when she was Justice Secretary, she's already made the Sentencing Council decision subject to her approval.
Yeah, to a veto.
So she's halfway brought it in-house. So he's just completing the work done by Shabana Mahmood, and I think it's uncontroversial, really, between Labour and Conservatives now that this ought to be done. The question of the judges is a different matter altogether.
So, what's your view on that? He's saying
I've long thought
basically.
I've long thought that judges have lost. Well, it starts with the barristers. There are too many barristers who actually are campaigning barristers. Keir Starmer was one of them. And they're not there simply to be like cab rank principal, helping whoever comes along. They are campaigning barristers, and many of them are they're clever young people, and they end up as judges. And they're not trustworthy, that they're not continuing to campaign. And some of the judgments, particularly on immigration. I mean, there are people who say, for example, how is it Denmark and other countries have managed to get immigration under control, but they've stayed in the European Convention on Human Rights? Part of the reason is they don't seem to have these activist judges coming up with truly daft decisions the whole time. They've got their judges on side. And I've long believed there ought to be some sort of process whereby the public can see their judges, not an American-style approval process, but it's perfectly possible that judges, senior judges, when they're appointed, should come for a quiet cup of tea with a select committee at the House of Lords so we can actually know what their views and background are. They're very important in our public life. We know nothing about them.
I am absolutely shuddering.
I don't think...
No, I'm just frightened. I think this is the worst thing I've heard. I think the idea that we go down the way of either Russia or America, that we choose our judges for their political views, is the most dangerous thing I've heard. Our judges are there not to make law. In our system, they don't make the law. They listen to the evidence and they decide whether something's been proved or not. And that's across the way. You know, I used to be a magistrate, and we were lay, we weren't professional, and many of us were very politically active. Actually, at that time, more Tories than Labour, just because of how old I am. But, you know, once we sat on the bench, our politics went out of the courtroom, and we heard the evidence and we took the decision. And that's what our our judges do. And I think we undermine their independence at our peril. Our judges are brilliant. We've had this before, remember, when I think it was the Daily Mail got at some of our most senior judges and called them enemies of the people.
I remember that from
They had to retract from that, because what those judges did was interpret the law as Parliament set it down. You know, Daniel's mentioned Denmark. If the law is wrong, change it. He's a parliamentarian, as am I. If we don't like the law, we change it in Parliament. But we must leave our judges independent, and I think that's absolutely the British system. And anything else, I literally find chilling. I mean,
this is
scary.
a wonderful constitutional theory that Diane is expressing, and if it worked like that, then there wouldn't be a problem. But first of all, it doesn't work like that for a number of reasons. First of all, we have the European Convention on Human Rights supervening over and above laws made in Parliament. And that is regarded by the judges as what they call a living document. In other words, it can change and develop, and they can draw new law from it. As for the judges not making new law, they certainly made new law in the Brenda Hale Miller 2 case where the Supreme Court invented a completely new doctrine about prorogation that had no basis in existing law. And I think that's now commonly agreed.
Are you actually saying that you know more about the law than the Supreme Court? Are 11 top judges, 11 who unanimously ruled on something, and you're saying that you understand the British law better than our top...
It had no basis in law, and they had to explain why they were doing something new. But they shouldn't have been doing something new. And the third thing is, there are so many cases now that are admitted for judicial review by judges, which, when I was young, judges would have said, that's not something for judges to look at. That's a parliamentary matter. That's a political matter. Sort it out politically. But now everything goes to the judges.
Well, what do you make to it? As always, you get to have the final say, and I shall bring you into the conversation a little bit later on, towards the end of the programme. I want to revisit Robert Jenrick because he's found himself in hot water. He was addressing a Conservative Association event, and there's been some leaked audio of something that he said. So I'm going to play it to you, and we're going to debate it towards the end of the programme. So take a listen.
In the hour and a half that I was filming with news there, I didn't see another white face. And that's not the kind of country I want to live in.
Well, look, right, that's a short clip of an extended conversation they had, but people have gone into an absolute meltdown. There's calls for him to be stripped of the Tory whip. We will look at that, but I want your thoughts on that. But also coming up after the break, of course, it is the anniversary of the horrific October 7th attack. Our Prime Minister basically begged people not to go out and protest, not to go out and celebrate. They didn't listen. That won't surprise you, will it? We'll discuss after the break.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, Lord Moylan and Baroness Hayter. Roxy says, Michelle, judges are supposed to be impartial. Whatever anyone says, they are there to adjudicate, but she or he, I don't know what you are, Roxy, you have the impression that they're absolutely not impartial. Deb says the same thing, our judges are politically motivated, Michelle. And Poppy seems to say the same thing as well, that the judiciary is nothing more than far left activists. I imagine that Debbie will completely disagree with that, but you know what, for time reasons, I'm going to move on because, of course, we all know that today it's the second anniversary of the absolutely horrific attacks that we saw take place in Israel. We've long since discussed this issue. Of course, as we sit here today, there are still hostages being held by Hamas. There's war unleashed like I don't know what, and hopefully there may be an end in sight. Cautious optimism is how it's currently being described, so we shall leave that peace plan and see how it all unfolds. But meanwhile, back in this country, Sir Keir Starmer has asked, basically, I would say begged in many cases, people not to be taking to the streets, certainly not to celebrate and certainly not to protest. I've got to tell you, though, people didn't listen. There were so many events that took place today, and I can't help but notice that many of them as well seem to occur in universities. All of this has been described as un-British. Debbie, what's your thoughts?
I was deeply...
Why am I calling you Debbie?
I don't know. I was just wondering who that was.
Do you know what I like? Do you know what I absolutely like?
Is she better than me?
You just indulged me and answered the question anyway. This is Diane. I've no idea who Debbie is. I do apologise. I'm not quite yet.
Well, Debbie is my niece and she's turning 60 this week, so maybe we say happy birthday to Debbie.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
well,
how about that?
Indulging me. Happy birthday. It's my birthday as well this week, so there you go.
It was shocking, I thought. I mean, I think the idea of people using... I mean, it was rather like the attack last week on the Day of Atonement, to do it on something such a special day, and then today, which is the anniversary, for anyone to be out on the streets other than in solidarity with what happened is really, I find, very, very shocking. And I think probably most Muslim people agree. I don't think the people who are there are typical of the people watching from either community, either from the Jewish or from the Muslim community.
So I can show you some footage as we are talking as well. This was in Sheffield earlier on today. I mean, I've got to tell you, if you're watching this, you can see what I mean, but if you're listening on the radio, the very first thing that strikes me, as soon as you open up that footage, there's someone stood there with his face concealed. I cannot for the life of me understand why, to this day, you are allowed to attend demonstrations and conceal your face. What's the matter with the policing in this country? Anyway, Daniel, your thoughts? I might even start calling you Dave as well, just to mix.
Yeah, Dave. I answer to Dave. Yeah, we can't forget the horror of what happened 2 years ago, and particularly the fact that there are people still who are hostages and we hope alive and have never been never been released. I mean, the torture they've gone through over the last 2 years. And then there was the incident. And what I think is most troubling about this is that although Israel is an ally, although Gaza is an important issue, the fact is our internal domestic politics are being contorted by something that is happening in a foreign country. We've imported their quarrels into our country, and it's sort of tearing our political system apart. And that, I think, is the thing that's most troubling about this. We have to have some sense of detachment, some realization that this is happening in a foreign country over which we have no say. Nobody in that part of the world is listening to what we're saying. It's just tremendously futile what's happening and hurtful. And I think we should really worry about the fact that we're becoming a sort of plaything of foreign quarrels. Playground for foreign quarrels.
I saw a few strange things today, I've got to tell you. Just when you're looking around social media about the advertisements taking place, I saw a cake sale, a pro-Palestinian cake sale. I saw protests to celebrate the martyrs. It's all very, very strange. But I also took some time to try and understand what some of these protesters are saying and what they are saying, many of them anyway. Michelle, we just want babies to stop being killed. And they feel very, very passionately about that. The flip side of that will be many people will push back and say, well, hold on a second, because there's so much propaganda left, right and centre, so people perhaps have lost sight of what the truth actually is. Give me your thoughts. Do you want to come back in?
Well, just say we all want to stop the babies being killed. I mean, that is what, unites us, but that shouldn't make you into anti-Jewish. I mean, what is going on is the assumption that every Jewish person is responsible for that government. I happen to be, obviously, in the Labour Party, and the Labour Party is completely opposed to that particular government in Israel. But that doesn't mean to say you're anti-Jewish. And it is that is the awful thing, to say, because I want to say stop the killing of the babies or the starvation in Gaza, or the demolition of houses and schools and all of that. But I don't have to hate Jews by saying that. And it's that I think is really frightening, that's affecting our politics here.
What do you make to it all, ladies and gents? So much more we need to discuss tonight. Do you fear that you will be financially worse off in next month's budget? Apparently 3 out of 4 of us do. It makes me laugh because I just don't know what the other person is actually thinking. I'd love to talk to them. Maybe Daniel is one of them. Also, as well, I want to talk to you about those comments that Robert Jenrick made describing his recent visit to a place in Birmingham. There's calls for him to be stripped of the whip. I say grow up, ladies and gents. What say you? I'll see you in a minute.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow across southern parts of Europe, there's a lot of fine weather around. A few spots of rain here and there, a couple of showers starting to push their way into parts of Portugal, maybe around some coastal parts of Spain. Otherwise, a generally fine picture here. Also generally dry across much of Italy as well. Further east into parts of Greece, also around Croatia, a few showery bursts, but a lot of that clearing away. So actually, as we go through the end of the week into the weekend, it's looking dry for many of us and warm in the sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, the sunshine will return for some. Still fairly cloudy across the south though, and plenty of showers moving their way in across Scotland. Back to this evening, and we can expect some spells of rain initially across northern parts of England and Wales. Then eventually the system will drift its way southwards, bringing in more cloud, also some drizzly outbreaks across central and southern parts of the UK. To the north of this though, mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, which means it is going to turn chilly. A chance we could see some isolated frost, possibly even some mist and fog during the early hours of the morning. A different story across Scotland though, more cloud here and plenty of showers moving through. So a fairly chilly start across northern areas, but slightly milder under the cloud in the south. And it is going to be quite a grey and gloomy start to the day. There will be some drizzle in places, mostly across any hilly areas. And as we head our way further north, it will become drier. Plenty of bright and clear spells to start the day, though it is going to feel chilly. And across Scotland, once again, it is going to be another wet start. Plenty of showers continuing to push their way in from the west, turning quite breezy here at times too. And these showers often merging together to bring quite persistent outbreaks of rain. And it's likely these will linger through much of the day. But any cloud and drizzle will eventually shift its way southward, so it should turn drier and brighter here, but the best of the brightness is going to be across Wales, central parts of England, also Northern Ireland should see plenty of sunny spells. Those showers are set to continue across Scotland though. Temperatures will be fairly similar to what we saw this afternoon, so highs of 17 to 18 degrees Celsius. Heading into Thursday and across the south, it will be a much brighter start to the day. It's going to be chilly though, some mist and fog in places. Many areas should see a mostly dry day, though we have once again got some showers just starting to move into western parts of Scotland, also parts of Northern Ireland, so it could be a little damp here at times. For the rest of the week and into the weekend, high pressure dominating, so mostly dry, though it's often going to be cloudy. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Heavy congestion in Somerset on the A303 eastbound between the A37 Ilchester and the A372 Podimore follows a collision. In Kent, the M20 westbound between junctions 9 and 8 has 2 lanes closed due to a vehicle incident, causing delays. Motorists in East Riding of Yorkshire will face a road traffic collision on the M62 eastbound entry slip at junction 35, where all lanes are shut. And on the trains, there is disruption between London Marylebone and Aylesbury Vale Parkway, impacting Chiltern Railway's services, and no services through Gloucester. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello everybody, Dewbs & Co. With me, Michelle Dewberry, keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. I do hope you're all well this evening, alongside with my panel, the Conservative peer, Lord Moylan, and the former Labour Party chair, Baroness Hayter. Lots of you getting in touch tonight. Dennis says, Michelle, choosing to join a protest today, of all days when it comes to Gaza, proves, he says, that these protesters are anti-Semitic. They are celebrating a disgusting attack on Jews, he says. There is no reason at all to have joined those marches today. Keep your thoughts on that one coming in. Of course, it is a Tory party conference today up in Manchester. We were just having a break, and in that break, we're talking about actually attending these kind of party conferences and sitting through those speeches. You had Robert Jenrick. In a second, I'm going to show you Chris Philp as well. Is this your kind of favourite pastime, going to these speeches?
I have been to 45 years' worth of Labour Party conferences. Do I get a special medal?
Maybe. I'll be the judge of that towards the end of the programme, and we'll see how you perform and see. We'll see how you get on. What about you? Is it your favourite pastime?
Sometimes I go and sometimes I don't. It's not my favourite pastime.
Oh, I bet it
but
is.
It can,
I bet you secretly love it. And all the fringe events. I bet you're right in there.
Oh,
no messing around.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You know, it depends on the fringe event, doesn't it, really, you know?
I can't.
GB News party last year. I was there last year. That was tremendous. I was queuing up at midnight with Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg to try and get in. Queuing up.
At the front and said, "Do you know who I am?"
No. Well, he wouldn't do that, you see. Then somebody came out and they said, "Oh, it's you, Sir Jacob. We must whisk you to the front." That's much more his style. So he waited to be whisked to the front. But I, of course...
But did he take you in with him?
Yeah, I was stuck to him like glue at that stage, yeah. So I got in up to the front as well. But we did queue at the back for quite a long time before he was recognised.
I quite respect that. I quite like that, you know. GB News parties are very good indeed. Some of you came to the Essex one on the election night. I will never forget that night as long as I live. I absolutely loved it. Anyway, let's listen to Chris Philp, shall we hear you talking out today?
In our hotspot areas, we will allow routine stop and search without suspicion. Anyone can be searched. We will change the law to do this, and we will triple the use of stop and search. Lives will be saved, and knives will be taken off our streets. We have the courage to do that. Labour does not.
So this speech went on and on. I've got to say, I was watching it live because I was presenting Britain's Newsroom, and I found it very perplexing because lots of what he was saying, whilst I was nodding along, I'm sure he used to be like a policing minister or crime minister or whatever it was. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're so passionate about these things, rightly so, why don't you sort them all out when you was in the job then?
Well, I think we did sort a lot out in the job, when at least on the policing front, actually. And I think when Boris was Prime Minister, he was very good on crime and low-level crime in cities and things like that. So it goes up and down. The difficulty is, the main problem we've had with the police is more to do with sort of hate crimes. But it's true that in many cities, outside London at least, in many cities, there is a lot of low-level crime, some of which turns really violent, which the police are not properly dealing with. And they need to be given powers to do that. And they need, but more than powers, they need the management drive to make it a priority. And that's what I'd have liked to hear more about in Chris Philp's speech, is how to change the culture of the police so that those things become their priorities and not some of the things we've seen them focus on recently.
He was promising, I think it was 10,000 extra police officers.
Yeah, everyone promises 10,000 extra police officers.
Yeah, no, but you guys reduced them by about, what, 20,000?
20,000. They cut them, the Tories cut them by 20,000.
Yeah, but the number you need varies over time. It depends how big the problem is. The problem has got bigger and you need more police officers to do it. And
the problem's got bigger because we didn't have the police to enforce it.
Well, I don't think
he was the minister for crime, you know, from 2022 to 2024, and retail.
But it wasn't our best years in government.
Shop thefts went up enormously. Usdaw is the trade union that represents shop workers, and they kept asking the last government, please enforce it. I don't think they need the powers. We need the bobbies on the beat. It sounds very old-fashioned, but actually, if the staff in a shop can actually hold a shoplifter for a short time, they need a policeman to arrive pretty quickly, and then they can be taken to court. And the powers are there, but we need the people.
But do you accept, though, it certainly feels like many people will have this sense at home watching this programme, that under the Labour government there has been an attitudinal switch within the policing priorities to now focus on words, thoughts, social media posts and so on. Do you accept that?
No, I think there was a bit of that happened and it got a lot of coverage. But actually, most policemen are still doing the job that we see all the time.
Oh, God, there's not been a bit of it. There's been loads of it.
There's been some, but in the day-to-day, you know, if you ask any police person what they're doing, you know, the vast majority is all the stuff you would expect them to do. And I'm not disagreeing with you that they shouldn't be doing this silly stuff of, you know, getting people off planes.
Are they doing it to try and control speech, to make people afraid?
Yes, I'm not going to defend one moment of that. But you're also right. It is the people in charge of the police that decide where their priorities should be, and they decide whether a police person should go and, you know.
But who influences them? Who influences
we've got this system that the last government set up called police commissioners, and they set the policy, if you like, and the framework and the budget. So they decide how much is on traffic, how much is on streets, how much is on intelligence. You know, that's what their job is, to decide how their force is arranged, and that person has to start doing it properly.
Well, there you go. What do you make to it all, ladies and gents? Because that old sentence about policing the streets and not the tweets, that is very prominent in many of your minds. I know that from speaking to you every day now. We've got the budget coming up next month. What do you think to this? Do you think that you are going to be someone that will be worse off, better off, or perhaps somewhere in the middle? Fresh polling says that 3 out of 4 people essentially say they've lost faith now when it comes to this government's growth mission. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm surprised it's as high as, it's as low as 3 in 4. I don't know anyone that doesn't think that they are going to be financially worse off come next month after the budget.
Well, I think the interesting issue is you use the word financially worse off. I mean, what we've got is people who want more and better health services. They want to be able to see their GP. They want good schools for their children or their grandchildren.
Yeah.
You know, they want affordable houses. They want the potholes dealt with. That's a constant problem. They do want bobbies on the beat.
Yeah.
And actually, somebody has to pay for those. And so if you look at what really makes life better, it is having all those things. But unfortunately, we have to pay for those. And what
But we pay through our nose. We have the highest tax rates in God only knows
No,
when.
we don't. You go to many other countries and they have
But
higher
we're not in those
tax than
countries.
us.
Who cares what you get taxed
Well,
over
so I
there
thought you
when
said
we're
you
in
were...
this country?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said we were paying more than
No, we
elsewhere.
pay more since God only knows when. So
Oh,
we're
so I
paying
thought you mean
high
other
taxes
places.
and getting less. And also,
We're not
I've got to
getting
tell
less.
you,
We're not
well,
getting
it certainly
less.
feels it. And I'll tell you now, many of my viewers, they'll be one step away from considering getting on one of those dinghies, crossing the channel and getting the life of Riley.
The health service is incredible. I mean, you know, people of my age didn't used to be alive still. We live longer, luckily, because the health service keeps us going, but it is very expensive. And most people watching know that when they go to the doctor or they're in hospital, they get very, very good treatment. And we never stand up and say, yes, a lot of your tax is making sure we have a good health service. Our kids are well educated.
Oh, I can hear some of you at home. I can hear you shouting at your screens because I know you. I know lots of you and what your thoughts and feelings are. Lots of people, Lord Moylan, will be shouting that actually they feel quite furious at the moment about how much tax they are paying. They feel that they are getting much worse services. They can't get into a doctor or whatever for a very long time now. And they feel that a lot of the expenditure has gone the wrong way, they would feel. And hence the Tories and people like that are coming out now and making statements such as welfare for British citizens only. What do you think on it all?
Well, look, the whole British model was based on the idea that every year the economy would grow on average 2%. And some of that money could go into public services and some of it could go to keeping taxes down and end up in people's pockets and so on. That's how it worked. Since we've stopped growing, Labour in particular have really struggled with this because you have a party that says it doesn't want to raise the main taxes. It doesn't want to increase borrowing. But the moment Rachel Reeves says she'd like to make a modest reduction in expenditure, the Labour Party in Parliament goes completely spare and puts a stop to it. So they've completely boxed themselves in. And she is expected to produce, I'm almost sorry for her, she is expected to produce money out of nothing to keep these muppets in the House of Commons, these Labour MPs, happy. And it simply isn't going to work. The system is going to break down and there is going to be some sort of crisis over it. And I think people can feel that coming in their bones. So when they see the budget coming, what they worry about it is not just that they'll be worse off, but that she's even more killing growth. And it's the growth you need to make the model work in the first place.
Well, the growth is going to come from investment. It doesn't come straight away, and we are putting
No, it's
money
not going to come.
into infrastructure.
You're putting
all
money
sorts of
into things that don't pay for themselves.
And training people, because actually what we need to do is become much more productive.
Yeah, well, that's what Gordon Brown
We've got
used
one
to
of the
say.
lowest...
We've had this...
We've got one of the lowest productivity almost in any country because we don't invest enough in education and training people, and we've got to do that, make us more productive. But that doesn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen under the Tory government. We became productive.
That was the policy of Gordon Brown. That was the policy of Boris Johnson. It's been the policy on training and education that's the solution. Has been the policy of every Prime Minister I can think of, going back at least to 1997. But it hasn't delivered the goods. So either they're not doing it, or they're doing it wrongly, or it isn't going to be the answer on its own.
Sorry, we had lots of growth after 1997, right up to 2006. We had great growth.
Yeah, but since 2006, since the global financial crisis, it hasn't been the solution. And it hasn't done the trick. It's a serious issue.
Well, we've got a lot of growth, haven't we? And the depression rates, the amount when people look at the state of the country. Brent Herberman, I like him. He founded lastminute.com. He's become the latest entrepreneur to warn that tech entrepreneurs, the wealthy, etc., they will be heading out of the door if Labour do not stop increasing taxes, he says. And many people will go, good, farewell, goodbye, entrepreneurs. You won't be saying that, I promise you, when they do actually pack the bags and skedaddle. Anyway, look, my favourite subject, can't lie. Coming up after the break, Robert Jenrick, how do I word this nicely? People are not happy with him because of comments that he made about white faces. I'll see you in a minute.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello everybody, Michelle Dewberry here with Dewbs & Co, keeping you company till 7, Lord Moylan and Baroness Hayter alongside me until then. Now, I've been trailing this story quite a bit today. I absolutely love it. I don't know why. There's something about this story that really stopped me in my tracks when I heard it today. Robert Jenrick, of course, he's been doing his speech. It just so happens, very convenient timing, that there was some audio that was leaked to The Guardian, of course. It was him addressing a Conservative Party Association meeting. Take a listen.
I went to Handsworth in Birmingham the other day to do a video on litter, and it was absolutely appalling. It's as close as I've come to a slum in this country. But the other thing that I noticed there was that it was one of the worst integrated places that I've ever been to. In fact, in the hour and a half that I was filming with news there, I didn't see another white face. And that's not the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where people are properly integrated. It's not about the colour of your skin or your faith. Of course it isn't. But I want people to be living alongside each other, not parallel lives. That's not the right way we want to live as a country.
People have properly got their knickers in a twist over this one. There's been calls for him to be stripped of the Tory whip. There's been calls that a red line has been crossed, you name it. Lord Moylan, your thoughts?
Well, I was born and grew up in Birmingham, and Handsworth was always a poor area, but it has changed quite a lot, but it is quite monocultural in many ways now. And there are other parts of Birmingham that are quite similar. And I think what it shows is that for all the talk of integration, when people come to live in this country, over many generations, they often want to stay. They move and live into the same areas. And over many generations, they often want to stay in those areas. There is movement, of course, but they often do stay in those areas. And so you don't actually get as much integration as you might like, as much blending in, but you do get people living, as Robert Jenrick said, living parallel lives. But I do remember the BBC journalist not so long ago who went to Manchester, the BBC building in Manchester, and said there weren't enough brown faces. And the BBC didn't sack him or anything or call for him to resign. They apologised and said they were going to do something about it. So, you know, it doesn't seem to be entirely equitable, this.
I've got to tell you, Richard Parker, who is the mayor of the West Midlands, said that Mr Jenrick's comments were racist. He said the following, apparently because he set out intentionally to draw on a particular issue, people's colour, to identify the point he wanted to make. I doubt whether or not, if he went to a largely white community anywhere in the West Midlands, he'd be making a comment similar to what he made about Handsworth. What do you make to all of this?
Well, I think that probably Robert Jenrick is enough of a historian to know that Enoch Powell's River of Blood speech was also made in Birmingham, and there's for those of us of a certain age, a real frisson about
Are you stretching it a little bit there?
No, I'm not.
Really?
It was really insensitive, and it is in a way. And in a way, you know, the point just made. It is, you know, I mean, there's a little Italy in a bit of London, I don't know whether you know it, where you go into shops and people are still speaking Italian. You're absolutely right, people stick together, and there's a lot of Italians there, but we don't go and use that as, oh gosh, they haven't integrated because they're carrying on with Italian, they go to a church in Italian and stuff like that. And there are Irish bits of not just here, but you know, of other cities outside of London, and we don't sort of criticise those. So that's why it makes it different when you happen to criticise a group who are differentiated by colour, when we wouldn't criticise the Irish living in communities, or indeed the Italians. And there's probably, I know down in South London, funny enough, there's a Korean group down there. Don't know how they all got there, but there is. So that's what I think makes some of us feel very uncomfortable about it.
I think Richard Parker, who's the mayor of the West Midlands, Labour mayor of the West Midlands, put his finger on it there. He just said if he'd gone to a white community, he'd have said something different. Yeah, but that's the point. You go to Birmingham or West Midlands, there will be white communities, and there are communities that are from other cultural backgrounds. And that's the whole point, I think, that Jenrick is making.
But
that is a failure. That is a failure of integration.
But he spoiled his point by what he said.
Why? It's like at the end of the day, if you go to a part of Britain and you don't see a white face, if you point that out, what is wrong with that? What am I missing?
Well, because it's sort of suggesting there's something wrong about there being no white faces there. These are Commonwealth citizens, well-established, long-running. They have the vote, they stand for election, they're part of our community. We're not talking about, recent arrivals, we're talking about people who have been here.
How do you know if they're recent arrivals or not? You don't know those people are.
Not number-wise, the recent arrivals are very small compared with the size of our Commonwealth the citizenship up there, I think it will be felt. And if people, it's a bit like being anti-Semitic. If the people who feel that they've been insulted, then they have been insulted. I found this just absolutely bizarre. I actually found it almost laughable because at the end of the day, you can walk around and it's like we were just referencing that memory that some of you might have about that actress who, I think it was a king's coronation or something, so she'd seen a ceremony and then she saw the royal balcony and she made a comment saying, oh, what a terribly white balcony. Well, yeah, because that's a white family. And what do you want them to do? Just randomly grab a mixed race person or a black person and stick them in the middle of their family photograph? That would just be weird. So when people make those kind of comments, apparently that's OK. But if you make those kind of comments in reference to whiteness,
then all hell breaks loose. And I don't really understand this. Many people, Daniel Moylan, have a concern about the rapidly changing demographic in this country. Rapidly changing. And I did actually, there was a small part of me that thought it was a bit rich for Robert Jenrick to be referencing a decline in white faces when actually it's the Tory party that's presided over significantly uncontrolled immigration in this country. So that's the only kind of eyebrow that I raised on that one issue. Do you think people shouldn't be concerned about changing demographics? I've only got about 30 seconds. So
yeah, and I think they should be concerned. That is my 10 seconds or whatever. They should be concerned, and we should have policies for dealing with it. And I'm glad to see that Kemi is producing policies that will deal with it.
Look, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I cannot help but notice, just making an observation about what your working eyesight sees, that is not racist. So many people getting them knickers in a twist, references, linking it back to Enoch Powell and all the rest of it. Maybe I'm missing something. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. Final thoughts, as always, to you. No offence, I've got to say. Anyway, thank you very much for your company. I've very much enjoyed both of it tonight.
Thank you.
I've also always enjoyed yours too. Have yourself a fantastic evening, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, the sunshine will return for some. Still fairly cloudy across the south though, and plenty of showers moving their way in across Scotland. Back to this evening, and we can expect some spells of rain initially across northern parts of England and Wales. Then eventually the system will drift its way southwards, bringing in more cloud. Also some drizzly outbreaks across central and southern parts of the UK. To the north of this though, mostly dry. Plenty of clear skies, which means it is going to turn chilly. A chance we could see some isolated frost, possibly even some mist and fog during the early hours of the morning. A different story across Scotland though, more cloud here and plenty of showers moving through. So a fairly chilly start across northern areas, but slightly milder under the cloud in the south. And it is going to be quite a grey and gloomy start to the day. There will be some drizzle in places, mostly across any hilly areas. And as we head our way further north, it will become drier. Plenty of bright and clear spells to start the day, though it is going to feel chilly. And across Scotland, once again, it is going to be another wet start. Plenty of showers continuing to push their way in from the west, turning quite breezy here at times too. And these showers often merging together to bring quite persistent outbreaks of rain. And it's likely these will linger through much of the day. But any cloud and drizzle will eventually shift its way southward, so it should turn drier and brighter here, but the best of the brightness is going to be across Wales, central parts of England. Also Northern Ireland should see plenty of sunny spells. Those showers are set to continue across Scotland though. Temperatures will be fairly similar to what we saw this afternoon, so highs of 17 to 18 degrees Celsius. Heading into Thursday and across the south, it will be a much brighter start to the day. It's going to be chilly though, some mist and fog in places. Many areas should see a mostly dry day, though we have once again got some showers just starting to move into western parts of Scotland, also parts of Northern Ireland, so it could be a little damp here at times. For the rest of the week and into the weekend, high pressure dominating, so mostly dry, though it's often going to be cloudy. That's it from me, bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In East Riding of Yorkshire, the M62 eastbound entry slip at junction 35 is closed due to a collision, expected to clear by 8 tonight. In Kent, a collision on the M20 westbound between junction 9 and 8 has closed 2 lanes, causing an hour-long delay, with normal traffic conditions anticipated around 11:30 tonight. Heavy goods vehicles face a 7.5-ton weight limit on the M48, and on the trains, there are disruptions between London Marylebone and Aylesbury Vale Parkway on Chiltern Railways, and no trains are running through Gloucester on cross-country. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232.